is up, YouTube? It is your boy Skinny Moose.
Boy, fat squirrel.
What up, guys? This is Death Proof, Tommy Trainwreck in the house.
All right, so we got some questions for Tommy Trainwreck here. The first one is, what made you become a wrestler?
All right, man. Oh, well, first and foremost, thanks for having me on the channel. Thanks for everybody who takes the time to watch this. So that question for me is a little bit different than most people. So I didn't grow up as a wrestling fan. I watched wrestling occasionally because one of my mom was a big WCW mark. She used to love Big Sexy. So my earliest memories of wrestling are going over her house and watching WCW pay-per-views. But I didn't become a fan of wrestling and really get into wrestling until I was in middle school because I moved around a lot as a kid. And I didn't really have like a core group of friends. And I met some friends in middle school, and they happened to like wrestling. And they backyard wrestled, and that's what really got me into wrestling, was meeting my group of friends and then getting introduced to wrestling and then being like, oh, wow, this is actually pretty cool. So when I first started watching wrestling, it was like around the time John Cena was breaking in. So
so you're not that much older than I am.
No, I'm 30. I'm 30, man.
You only got me beat by 6 years.
Yeah, well, I'm a little bit older, not too much, dude.
Very interesting.
Oh.
Yeah, so like, I like to tell people that, like, I know it sounds cliche, but like when I was first breaking in, John Cena was the guy, dude. Like, you know what I mean? That was one of my favorite wrestlers, legit. You know, and I know like a lot of people will give me flack for that, but like when I watched him make his debut against Kurt Angle like live, you know what I mean? Like I seen that on TV like when it happened, you know what I mean? So that's one of those things that's like always stuck with me as a wrestling fan, you know what I mean?
I'm a Cena fan myself. I liked when Cena first started. I've always been more towards John. And then nowadays, I don't know. I guess I don't know what happened. Like, what happened to Cena?
He's got that old man legend status going on. You know what I mean? He don't gotta work like that anymore, dude.
I don't look down on a lot of legends, but Cena to me seems like he's been a washed up has been. Like, I know.
I'm not gonna say that. I'm gonna say that he definitely explored some other avenues to make some money outside of wrestling.
I feel like he pulled the Rock's move, got into wrestling, made his name, and then went to Hollywood and F my roots, which made him who he was.
Yeah, man. It happens with a lot of guys, dude. But money talks. You know what I mean?
You know the saying, money talk, BS walks. So
sure does, bro. Sure does, man.
If you want to ask your question, Squirrel, go ahead.
Yeah, what you got, Squirrel?
I don't know if you do deathmatch, but have you ever considered getting in any other deathmatch tournament?
I do dabble in the deathmatch. So last year I did Horace Slam's Murder City Deathmatch Cup 2, and I wrestled Shane Mercer in a barbed wire madness match in the first round. So that was my first official tournament. That was in August, and then about 2 weeks later, ICW Milwaukee does the Insane 8 tournament every year. And I was not in the Insane 8, but unfortunately, Eric Dillinger sustained an injury in his first round match against Yanni GQ and was unable to continue because he had to go to the hospital and get fucking stitches. So I stepped in and I wrestled Oren Veidt in the semifinals of the Insane 8 last year, which was probably my breakout match of the year for me.
Honestly, I gotta say that was probably one of your best matches aside of DBA and Pondo.
Oh, it was definitely my bloodiest.
I seen you wrestle Mercer, and honestly, I was thinking, Mercer's getting ready to yeet Tommy. I watched it last night. I was like, Mercer's getting ready to yeet Tommy, and I'm like, no. But then he put you through this, I don't know, little barbed wire table looking thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh God, I feel y'all's pain. Like, I've actually got caught in barbed wire, so not wrestling or nothing, but I've got caught in that shit. I'm like, oh fuck, this man has to hurt.
Yeah, man. Barbed wire is definitely not fun. Let me tell you a little story about Shane Mercer too. That dude is crazy strong. Okay, insanely strong. I'm a pretty big dude. I'm over 300 pounds, and he suplexed me and did all types of stuff that normally doesn't happen to me. You know what I mean? So he
I
definitely
think
shoot the name.
I definitely think Mercer was the first one that I've seen pick you up, manhandle you,
Oh,
and
100%.
I'm like, Tommy getting manhandled? Because I've always knew who you was, but I've never like really knew you by your like uh Facebook name or
Yeah.
your. I've always knew you by Tommy Trainwreck, and I was like, I've always liked your style, as I said before. And I'm like, I like what he brings, but I never knew how to, get you about the channel.
Yeah, man, I'm pretty easy to contact, dude. I'm not. I try to be responsive to people because, like, the way that I look at it is everybody starts somewhere. Whether you're doing interviews or whatever, if you love wrestling and you have a passion for this shit and you care about this, then you're the same as me, man. I care about this. I have passion for this shit. So that's that common ground, and I always respect people who respect this. Whether you're on the other side of the guardrail or not, we're all still in the same community, dude. You know what I mean?
To me, deathmatch wrestling is still a form of wrestling, and I know you got your people out there. Oh well, it's killing the business, this and that and the other. But I'm like, how's that? It started in Japan.
Well, let me shoot on that a little bit, dude. So the people who shit on deathmatch wrestling, you just don't get it because you have to really love wrestling to do deathmatch wrestling. Because what's
Yeah,
everybody say about wrestling? What's the main thing people say about wrestling? Oh, what's it? That fake bullshit? Is that
yeah,
fake?
yeah.
And people love to throw that word around, but it's really hard to throw the fake word around when you're using barbed wire and thumbtacks and glass and stuff that people know is hurt, like will hurt people. You know what I mean? Or is hurtful. And it goes back to like the gladiator days, and like people used to go to the coliseums and watch people fucking fight because they wanted to see blood and they wanted to see some crazy shit. Like it's human nature to want to see those things, I think. You know what I mean? So I think deathmatch taps into that primal part that a lot of people don't necessarily dip into all the time. You know what I mean?
I think that's the main reason why I got into death matches is because I like the blood and I like how interactive y'all are with y'all fans. Like, you get your big wrestlers like WWE and AEW. Oh well, we love you. This and that and the other. This and that and the other. But then you go look at the indie wrestlers, and they actually do love their fans, and they actually want to interact with them. And I'm like, this is what home for me. I love interacting with the wrestlers and getting to know them. So, what is your main promotion? I was thinking it was Horror Slam.
So Horror Slam is definitely one of my main promotions. So it's about 8 hours away from me to go to Detroit for Horror Slam. So I go basically as much as I'm available. I've been on every Horror Slam show since the summer. That would be probably one of my top three promotions. I'd say my main promotion that I work for the most is ICW Milwaukee, which I'm the current alternative champion. And actually next weekend I'm wrestling Doctor Redacted in a death match for ICW. So that should be fucking a little crazy, to say the least.
Oh, I'm definitely gonna have to watch that.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna. So I know you watched. You said you watched a couple of my matches. So for those viewers at home, my YouTube is X Death Proof X, and I put all my matches out there for free. So the Doctor Redacted match will be released on my YouTube for free as soon as it happens. So definitely, if you want to watch it, it'll be there at some point. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Yeah, man. Trying to take care of the fans, dude. I have
I'm
people
definitely gonna watch it.
who support. So I like to create content so guys can have stuff to watch, And like to touch on what you were saying before, man, the deathmatch community, deathmatch fans are different, bro. Like you guys like go above and beyond normal fans. Like I have deathmatch fans who like actually give a fuck. You know what I mean? Will actually check in on people and like care about people. Buy even if they already have your t-shirts, people will still come and buy a piece of merchandise just to show love, just to show support. And you don't see that in the regular wrestling community as much as you do the deathmatch community.
Not no more, not in regular wrestling. They all about money and shit.
Yes, I need
Yeah.
to pick up. I'm definitely gonna have to pick up some merch from you.
Yeah, man. I'll hook you up with some stuff, dude, for sure. I try to keep the merch game because you know how it goes with us. There's not a super lot of money in wrestling, so for us to make a couple extra bucks off merchandise, that usually goes a long way, especially when we're, you know what I mean, traveling 7, 8 hours.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, y'all don't really get thousands and thousands of dollars. All of y'all proceeds come from us fans. So, you got to have something to, y'all get in there and y'all got to have some type of money. Most of y'all's money
That's why these
comes
interactions
from
and stuff
us.
that's why these interactions are important. That's why I don't understand when people don't put the fans first. Like, you don't have time to sit there and talk to your fans. Like, the fans are the lifeblood. If there's no fans, there's no reason to be doing this. You know what I mean?
Exactly. If you don't have, the love for us, but we have the love for you, then it's kind of a dead road. Y'all ain't gonna get
And
that there.
I feel like people can see that, and like the people who show love back, like those are the people who really start building like fan bases. You know what I mean? I feel like the people who are fake and don't really talk to their fans, like I feel like fans can see that and feel that.
Exactly. So, what is your worst injury, or have you ever had a major injury?
So the worst injury I ever had was not even a cut, but back in 2015, I used to wrestle for a company called Beyond Wrestling on the East Coast. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Beyond at all.
I've heard of it.
So Ricky Shane Page just wrestled Atticus Kogar in a no rope barbed wire match on New Year's Day for Beyond Wrestling.
Yeah.
So that's a company that I started with, and I actually I had a War Games match, and I did a spot with Ricky Shane Page where he superplexed me off of a cage to the floor, and it was supposed to be through a table, but because we ran in a nightclub, it was on like that slippery bar floor, and the table kicked out from underneath us, and I basically took a suplex from the cage to the concrete, and that jacked up my back. That was probably the worst injury that I've got. Other than that, wrestling or in fight, last year at the I8, I decided to throw up a middle finger. I don't know if you can see that scar right there. Like,
yeah.
I got hit with a bundle, and while my middle finger was up, and it almost cut my finger off, dude. Like,
you can see it goes like halfway around your finger.
Yeah, it went all the way around the side of my finger because when I threw up middle fingers, he hit me with the bundle of tubes while my finger was exposed, and it almost cut my finger off, dude. So that's probably
me and my grandfather. Go ahead, sorry. Me and my grandfather actually watched that match, the Owen White match. When you done like that, I was like, oh fuck. And I seen Owen, and I seen you throw your hands up, and I seen you like bring them down. I was like, oh fuck, this has to be bad. This has to be bad.
Yeah,
and my grandfather's like, what? I was like, you don't see his fucking fingers already bleeding?
Yeah, man. Like, that's like a clip on my IG. It was like when my hand was like dangling over the ropes and just dripping into a puddle of blood. I was like, jeez. Definitely brutal, dude.
Go ahead and ask your question, Squirrel.
What you got?
My question was, you do a lot of single matches. Have you ever tried? Sorry, I apologize.
No, you're good, man.
Have you ever thought about being in a tag team or anything like that?
Yeah, hey man, it's funny that you actually say that. So, like I told you guys, I'm from Massachusetts originally. I moved to the Midwest. When I first started wrestling, my wrestling career, I was only a tag team guy. I used to be in a tag team called the Minutemen with Devin Blaze. And the first 7 years of my career, I was exclusively a tag team guy. That's all I did was tag team matches. So this past year, January 14th, so today, 1 year ago today, I made my return to wrestling. I took about 3.5, 4 years off, and I relocated from Massachusetts out here. So I've been back to wrestling for 1 year, and I've done singles matches for 1 year, just exclusively singles matches. So I'm trying to switch from being a tag team guy to a singles guy. So I'm actually on the opposite end of that. You know what I mean? I already did the tag team thing. Now I'm trying to do the singles thing. If that makes sense.
Definitely. So, who is your dream opponent, whether he be a technical wrestler or a deathmatch?
All right, so I got two answers for that. I'll give you the technical one first, and I'll give you the deathmatch one second. So, from a technical wrestling standpoint, I think my dream opponent is Speedball Mike Bailey. Speedball's a dog. I love what Speedball brings to the table, dude. I really like the striking element that he brings, but he also does some flips and some cool shit like that. You know what I mean? So I got a lot of respect for Speedball. His United States debut was for Beyond Wrestling, so I've known Speedball for almost 10 years already. So I think that would be an interesting match. And then as far as from a deathmatch setting, it's got to be Matt Tremont, man. Got to be
Tremont. Oh,
yeah,
I'd love to see you and Tremont hook up.
See, dude, it's one of those things. A lot of fans say that to me. It's like we look similar, we're similar builds. Bulldozer, Trainwreck. You know what I mean? It kind of writes itself, dude. It's one of those things that if I could pick one person, it would definitely be Matt Tremont. Because to me, he absolutely exemplifies what a deathmatch wrestler should be. You know what I mean? There's nobody more decorated. There's nobody who's had more accomplishments or anything in the modern deathmatch era, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like,
That's true.
This guy's like, obviously Nick Gage is a legend. You know what I mean? But like in the most recent memory, there's nobody who's made an impact like Matt Tremont. So that's definitely the one.
That's definitely true. So do you have anybody that you would like to call out right now?
For a match, dude? Hell yeah, dude. So I don't know if you remember I was just speaking about Ricky Shane Page having that barbed wire match in Beyond Wrestling. So he made some headlines for after the match. He got on the microphone and he said that he had about 10 full glass death matches left in him. So I think RSP owes me one of those after suplexing me off that cage 9 years ago, almost breaking my back. I think me and him have some shit to settle. And if he wants to go full glass, we can definitely send it. If he wants to go full glass, we can definitely send it because I'm not worried about glass, dude.
Definitely. You versus Ricky Shane Page. Fuck yeah. Damn, I'd love to see that.
Yeah, man. A lot of people like to say Ricky's one of the best bleeders in deathmatch. So I've heard the same thing be thrown around about me too. So I like to see who's the better one, I guess. You know.
I mean, RSP has that bleeding disorder thing, and
I know.
I really don't know about you, but
nah, I don't have a bleeding disorder. I just fucking I think I just have thin blood, bro. I don't know, or I'm unlucky.
Honestly, you're one of the bleeders that I've seen that get in there and just, I don't know if it's blood makes you go more hard or whatever, but I've noticed that when you get busted open, you just go 10 times worse. Like you flip.
Adrenaline's a crazy thing, dude. It's hard to explain until like it happens, but like when you get hit with the glass or you get a cut or something like that, adrenaline's very, very, very powerful, dude. Like you'd be surprised what you feel in the moment, and then like later on, you're like, oh, I have this cut, or oh, I have this, you know. So it's like adrenaline's a crazy thing. Most of the stuff, I'll admit, you don't fully feel until the next day. I'd say later on the next day till that adrenaline really starts coming down, you know.
I made a post on my Facebook and I was like, do y'all still feel it over the years, or over the years of doing it with all the build up scar tissue and all that?
Yeah, we always still feel it, but like you get used to it, if that makes sense. It's not that it's not that it doesn't hurt. It still hurts, but you know what the pain is you know what you're going into. You know what to expect with the pain. So the pain becomes more familiar. So I guess it does get easier in a sense. Yes, you know what I mean? Like the first couple death matches are probably a little more shocking to your body, but once you know what you're getting into, I think that it makes the mental part of it at least easier. You know what I mean? That's another thing a lot of people don't talk about, man, is like there's a mental aspect to this game. Like to know that you're rolling the dice and you might die, you might get cut up, you know what I mean? Like you have to know going into it, like shit could go wrong. So you have to be able to put yourself in that mental space to be able to wrap your head around that, dude, you know, and be okay with it.
I mean, there's some guys, like Wife Beater, who was only in it for like 4 years.
But dude, my heart.
Another one of my favorites was Sick Nick Mondo from back in CZW days.
Yeah, man.
But I know that it takes a hellacious toll on y'all's body.
It sure does, because you just had 2 examples, and there's guys like Thumbtack Jack. There's dozens of examples of deathmatch guys that have came onto the scene and then fizzled out in like 4 or 5 years. It's definitely not the most long-term career choice. You know what I mean? Especially for the guys who go hard as fuck. Like like Wife Beater, like dude, he was going nuts every match. So it's like I see why those guys have only been able to last 4 or 5 years because of their body of work. You know what I mean?
And then you get your legends, and they're like Pondo and Tank, Necro Butcher, who's been in it, and Low Life Louis Ramos, been in it 20, 25, 30, 35 years, so on. And I'm like I was watching H2O last night. Louis been in it for like 27 years. And I looked at my wife and I was like, how the hell did they put their body through it day in and day out?
Those guys are just built different. You know what I mean?
Like,
Pondo, Louis, they don't make them like that no more, brother.
I can actually see you taking it, at least 25 years with you.
I appreciate you, man. So I've been wrestling for about 10 years, doing deathmatch full time for this past year. And I'll be honest, my body feels great, dude. Like, I'm good. I think taking that time off to heal my back after the RSP incident was the best thing I did, because I feel, you know what I mean? Like, I have cuts and shit, but like, besides that, I'm good. You know what I mean? Like, cuts heal. Everything else is good.
So do you prefer to be a deathmatch wrestler, or do you prefer technical wrestling?
So I like to do both, but I'd say I prefer deathmatch. The reaction you get from deathmatch wrestling is always more elevated in a regular wrestling match. And that seems to be what I'm good at. So I think I like that better. In the month of December, I had 4 death matches. So, you know what I mean? Yeah, I'm trying to stay busy.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. That was it.
I've noticed that when y'all deathmatch wrestlers are laying down on the rope in the ring, or y'all got somebody over top of you or something, and then when we start cheering y'all on, like we go Tommy, like it sets something off in y'all, and y'all just bounce up and y'all are ready. Like we give y'all the adrenaline that y'all need.
Dude, that's exactly what it is. And until you've been in that situation and you experience it, dude, like it's a powerful thing, man. Like to have 200 people in a room chanting one thing is pretty intense, dude. You know what I mean? So it's hard to not be motivated and want to get back up and continue fighting and continue going on. You know what I mean? When you have a bunch of people cheering for you, and in a sense, you don't want to let them down either. You know?
So, you got another question, Squirrel?
What you got, Squirrel?
Question is, I know you do mostly in the States. Have you ever thought of going to like around the world, like Japan, Australia?
Yeah, dude. So, obviously, anybody who gets into wrestling is a dream to go international. For me personally, this next year, 2024, is a goal of mine, to go international. I need to renew my passport, but as soon as I do that, I think I would obviously love to. I'd love to follow the footsteps of guys like Pondo, go to Big Japan. You know what I mean? There's companies in Mexico that do death matches too. Like DTU is awesome. You know what I mean? Like there's death matches worldwide. You can go to Australia. You know what I mean? DMDU. Yeah. Like there's destination places to go for death matches. I would definitely, of course, man. I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to. I think that, admittedly, I haven't put the most effort into doing that. But now that I know that there's certain goals that are plausible, I think that me getting into Japan is more plausible now than it's ever been. So I really need to push it and try to do so. You know what I mean? Because I've established some connections with some guys over there. So I think that if I keep doing what I'm doing, those are definitely in the realm of possibility, you know?
we got a Japanese partner, and I'll send you his name over, and he fucks with, he's not a wrestler, but he fucks with Freedoms and BJW and stuff.
Yeah, what's his
name? We call him Chubby Chipmunk. So once it's over, I'll send you his name over.
Yeah.
And he's got Brian White on Facebook, so I'm gonna see if we can't get you over there into Japan.
Yeah, man.
Honestly, you versus Sakuda would fucking kill it. Or you
Oh, dude,
versus
yes.
Kobayashi.
And dude, there's so many guys over there that I'd love to work with. You know what I mean? Like literally, just so many legends. You know, like That's another thing about going international is it's a totally different. There's different waters. There's different talent you've got to test yourself against. And let's be honest, man, the Japanese guys are built different. Japanese deathmatch wrestling is totally different. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like those go hard as fuck. There's no going easy in deathmatch in Japan. You know what I mean?
Japan never fails to amaze me. They always got something like the Tokyo Towers or some kind of
It's always
scaffold.
great shit.
Their scaffold death matches are amazing. So I actually asked you before we started recording, would you ever wrestle for XPW, ICW, H2O, etc., TWE?
Oh, the easy answer to that is absolutely. For us as wrestlers, we want to wrestle for the best places, make the most money, wrestle in front of the best crowds for the best exposure. And those companies you just listed are exactly that. As far as deathmatch wrestling goes, XPW is one of the top companies in making the most noise in the deathmatch scene. You got guys like Schlack, Necro, you know what I mean? Like the best deathmatch workers work for XPW. If you're doing death matches and you don't want to work for XPW, you're probably doing it wrong because that's where the fucking guys are. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
There's other companies that are also doing good business. You know what I mean? Circle 6 is doing some cool shit. But like the deathmatch scene as a whole is thriving. There's multiple companies that are touring that you can go make decent money and get to wrestle in front of good crowds, like the Chains. You know what I mean? There's XPW, there's GCW, there's Circle 6, there's RPW. All these companies wrestle in multiple states and give guys a platform to do what they want to do. So I think this next year I would love to land in one of the big ones. For me, the big ones are XPW, CZW, GCW, Circle 6. I think for me, if I can land a job in one of those 4 places, I'll be happy.
A lot of wrestlers don't fuck with them, and we all know why. But I'd like to see you in ICW sometime if you can get Danny to get you in.
So crazy story. So you see this fucking scar on my head right here?
Yeah.
So Danny DeMonto fucking put super glue in that cut at a PWF New England show like 8 years ago. I don't even know if he remembers that. It was just a random like block party show, and I got busted open with a chair. And fucking Danny DeMonto and this guy Matthew West fucking glued my head shut. So like I've known Danny for a while, so it's one of those things that I think I need to send out some emails and some feelers and see what's up,
Yes, because I like XPW, but when I come back to death matches, because I was like 14, 15 when I started watching it, and then I quit, and then when I was like 18, 19, I got back in it, and my first company I watched when I came back was ICW NHB, so that was home. That's been home for me. So everybody, I know you have your wrestlers and your fans that don't like Danny, but for me, that's home.
Hey man, business is business is the way that I look at it. I treat people the way they treat me. You know what I mean? And like Danny's never done anything to me or done me wrong in any way, shape, or form, so I don't have a bad thing to say about the guy. And unless you're like a fucking pedophile or like a fucking racist or something, I give everybody the benefit of the doubt, bro. You know what I mean? Like people like to talk shit, but like unless I know you and I know what the deal is, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna judge people because people talk shit for various reasons,
Exactly. Like I will not have no motherfucking racist people on my channel because my ethnicity, it's all over the place. I have black in me a little bit. I'm mostly native. I have Canadian in me. So I don't fuck with that shit. And then the nasty motherfuckers.
Yeah, fuck them, right?
Then the nasty, the pedophile shit. Fuck no. Honestly, I have children, and we ain't even gonna hit that because that'll get it to channel ban. What I would do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm like you. I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. And the smaller guys, like, the ones that ain't mainstream or don't work for the big old promotions, like the ones that come from TPW and shit, some fans like to judge them because they're not super huge. I'm like, give them a chance. They all start somewhere in backyard, or they all start at a little nobody promotion. They got to work their way up. So you got to give them the benefit of the doubt.
For sure, man.
Yeah.
And the way I see it is if people are putting in the effort to better themselves and work hard, you've got to give them a chance to do so. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly. Like, you don't have no room. Like, to me, if you're already bad, what are you going to do? You're just going to get better.
yeah, for sure, man.
So,
When I worked at the pizza place, used to say this quote, and it stuck with me since then. He says, "You can only suck less. You already suck. You can only get better."
Yeah, man, that's true, bro. You can only suck less, dude. That's a good one.
so are you a heel or a baby face? Because I kind of make you out as a baby face.
I'd say I'm primarily a babyface. Yeah. Some people like to boo me because I'm from Boston, and you know what I mean. That area is not too well liked for all the shit the Patriots have done and all that other stuff. So people tend to hate on me a little bit because I'm from Boston. But outside of that, I like to think I'm a pretty likable guy. You know, seems to be wherever I go, fans usually chant for me and shit. So I'd say I definitely lean towards the babyface.
Honestly, it don't matter to me where a wrestler's from, as long as they're respectful, they respect us fans, and you got your boys in there that really don't give two fucks about us fans, as I said before. But as long as you get in there and you actually enjoy what you're doing, and you're doing it for us and our entertainment, it don't matter. You could be from Africa, and I'm still gonna root for you.
Oh, of course, man. And that's the beautiful thing about wrestling is guys can be from all over the place. You know what I mean? It don't matter if you're an 18-year-old kid or you're a 50-year-old man. You could be at a wrestling show and be a wrestler, like, and be connected and be involved in this shit. You know? That's what's beautiful about wrestling.
So, I couldn't really make it out in any of your matches, but what is the weapon that you hate the most?
Hate the most? I don't know, man. I don't necessarily have a hate for anything. I'd say that the glass is the most unpredictable. Like,
Yes.
So light tubes, like, I don't know, man. I've gotten hit with light tubes where I haven't gotten cut, and then I've gotten hit with light tubes where I've gotten really cut. So for me, probably glass is the most unpredictable. But I think the worst is when thumbtacks break off in your skin, like when the head falls off the thumbtack. I've had a couple where I've had to get tweezers and like pull thumbtacks out of my head and shit like that. So that's probably the worst of it. Not the thumbtacks.
I've wrestled around with my buddies when I was younger and like jumping off roofs and shit, but never really, too big on like you do yourself. But from what I've seen in deathmatch world, the weapon that I cannot stand, and I know hate's a strong word, but them fucking gusset plates.
Yeah, why do you hate them?
Because after it's done and you're healed up, whatever, like Brandon Kurt, his arm looks like a checkerboard.
Yeah,
but
man. Mine too.
See, and it's just so you get hit with the light tube, as you said. You may bleed, you may not, or you go through glass. It's unpredictable. It may shatter. You're probably gonna get cut by it. But once a gusset touches your bare skin, it's over. You're bleeding.
Oh, whatever. See, I understand that, but for me, it's like the gusset plates are more predictable. Like, you're going to bleed a lot. Don't get me wrong. You're going to bleed a lot, but you're going to get stabbed, you know what I mean, that much, and you're not going to need stitches. You're not going to bleed to death. You know what I mean? It's pretty controlled compared to the light tubes. Like, a light tube cut might cut you or might not cut you, might cut you really bad, but a gusset's going to cut you the same every time. You know what I'm saying? So, like, for me, I had a clip go viral on my IG, over 17 million views of Oren Veit putting a gusset plate in my head. So I know about the gusset plates, dude.
So one of the things, and no offense, but it's like, no offense, but the bald-headed guys, they always want to stick fucking gussets in their head. Yours, Tremont, what is up with that? Like, I know that you ain't got no protection up there, but I know that hurts because that's like literally the only thing protecting y'all's brain is the skull.
See, I think I feel like there's a lot of bald guys in deathmatch wrestling, and I feel like people who have hair, they have that protection. So people who don't have that, it's more of a shock value. Like you can see thumbtacks, you can see the shit being stuck and know it's stuck because there's nothing in the way. You know what I mean? So I think that's why a lot of guys who are bald tend to take more damage to the skull. It seems like.
I think the bald guys take way more than the guys with hair. Like if you
especially
obviously, and then scars. They show like yours and Tremont's, and there's others that's bald headed, and then scars show, and to me the scars is what makes y'all who y'all are. It makes y'all more famous or whatever, in my opinion.
See, for me, dude, it's like I wear them with pride because it's like each one's a story. You know what I mean? Each one is like something, one moment from a match or something that means something. You know what I mean? So it's like, especially in the deathmatch world, the guys wear that as a badge of honor, dude. As you see, I'm not worried about going to work, dude. You know what I mean? I am what I am. So.
Yeah, I see that big scar that goes like this away across your head.
Yeah, this one. Right.
Yeah, that one right there.
So funny story. That one is from Masada does the skewers. Like he stabs people with the skewers. So I got stabbed with barbecue skewers, and I took a tombstone pile driver, and that's what this long one on my head is from. Because when I took the tombstone, the fucking stick hit the mat and like broke and fucking cut my head open pretty good. So I had to get 22 staples in my head.
Jesus. Did you say that was from Masada?
It wasn't from Masada. It was from the skewers, though.
Oh, God. Who done it?
This person from the East Coast, his name is Chris Pyro. He was one half of a tag team called the Hoods. He's actually one of my close friends, which is the funny thing about it.
I guess when it comes from your best friend, it's not as bad, but the pain's bad. But I guess you don't have no hard feelings.
No, I wasn't mad. You know what I mean? Shit happens. We know what we're getting into. So.
Another question that I asked before we started recording was, what would you consider yourself, like a groundsman, high flyer, hybrid, etc.? What you've done.
I'm definitely a hybrid athlete. I like to tell people I specialize in strong style and deathmatch. For those of you who don't know what strong style is, that is the art of strikes and suplexes. Very much Japanese style wrestling, big boy shit. You know what I mean? I'm not here to do flips off the top rope. I'm here to knock people out and drop them on their necks and stuff. So that's the style that I specialize in for sure. Strong style, and then recently deathmatch for sure. I think I found.
Honestly, I would love to see you do get up on the ropes and do a flip or something.
Oh man, I've been known in the past to do it. When I was a tag team guy, I never wanted to be the big guy. I always wanted to be the flippy guy. You know what I mean? So like, I trained with Mike Quackenbush at the Chicago Wrestle Factory. So like, I know how to do lucha and shit. I just don't do it that much.
Oh. So, how did it feel to face Madman Pondo and DBA?
Oh man, so two totally different situations. The DBA one was first, so that was my debut for Horror Slam. So my first night in the company, I am wrestling the Deathmatch champion in the main event. Oh. So for me, that was one of those sink or swim situations. That was my first time being in front of the Detroit crowd, my first time in Horror Slam. So I knew that we really had to deliver or I wouldn't be back. And Horror Slam was somewhere that I wanted to be. So that DBA match is very important to me because that was the one that really like started the rocket for me. You know what I mean? Like that match on YouTube has like over 130,000 views. You know.
Yeah. So,
and then for Pondo, man, Pondo's a legend, bro. I've been watching Pondo since like when I first broke into wrestling. I was watching like music, like backyard wrestling music videos. Like Pondo was in a video game. You know what I mean? Like I've been watching that guy for the better part of my life. So to be able to share the ring with Pondo was super cool. And not only that, dude, like after the match, Pondo got on the mic and like told the people of Horseland that he knows a thing or two about deathmatch wrestling and Tommy Trainwreck's going places. And for Pondo to say that really, really meant a lot to me, because to get that stamp of approval of somebody, like you said, has been doing this shit for 25 years, traveled the world, you know what I mean, been to Japan over 44 times. Like somebody like that obviously knows what they're talking about. So for him to give me the stamp was like the biggest thing ever.
I want to see some more. I love your death matches. I want to see more of you, actually.
Appreciate you, man. I've been trying to stay as busy as possible, and like I have that match coming up with Dr. Redacted next week. That should get some more eyes on me. I think this next year should be a big year for me if I can keep these showcase matches going, this momentum going. You know what I mean?
Honestly, Doc, he brings his own style, and he brings a lot of fans with him. I'm a Dr. Redacted fan.
Oh,
and, I tried to get him on the channel. I have to message him again, but would you? I don't have it wrote down, but I'd like to see you go against Tank or Nathan Mowry, one of the boys from Carver to the Goat.
Yeah, dude, Tank's another legend, man. That's another guy that's been doing this shit for a long time, dude. Very respected by everybody in the locker room. And to be able to test myself against guys like that, dude, that's what this is all about. Because people look at Tank and know that Tank is a workhorse, and he sets a standard. And if you can go at the same rate as those guys, that does nothing but elevate you to that same standard. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And I've taught my son, I was like, you cannot, because we were thinking he might have autism. And he's a big fan of the referee. And I was like, you can only scream when you see the ref. So when the ref comes out and he introduces himself and then he screams, my son, he goes, ah! I'm like, that's how you show the ref support. He's a big ref fan, and his favorite wrestler, it's been his favorite wrestler since he was 2, is Hoodfoot.
Oh, man, I love
it. He was watching Hoodfoot with me one time in the living room, and Squirrel was over at the house with me, and we was chilling, and we was watching Hoodfoot, and he looks up and he goes, Hoodfoot. And he said something like Shitfoot or something because he couldn't say it right. And so halfway through the match, I looked down, and he's over here laid the fuck out of sleep. And I was like, after the match, I was like, Hoodfoot. When he went, his little mouth just dropped open, and I was like, he's a Hoodfoot fan.
Yeah, man. That's what it's about, bro.
In training, bro, he done tried to stab me with a color pencil already. In the head.
And, he tried to stab Squirrel. Like, I was doing my work one time, and we was watching wrestling, and somehow or another, I guess I laid a pin out on the table. He takes the cap off. He walks up to Squirrel. He moves his hair, and he starts jabbing him in the head. And I'm like, you ain't no Atticus Kogari. You ain't no Masada. Quit. He looks up, and he goes, no, Daddy, no. And just keeps stabbing Squirrel in the head. And I'm like, you are evil. And I told his mom, I said, if this don't quit, I said, he keeps going with no pain tolerance. I said, he's going into death matches. I've seen this boy fall down a hill, scrape his knee up to really bad where it's bleeding. He gets up, dusts himself off, and goes back to playing. I'm like, a normal 2, 3, 4-year-old would be squalling. I didn't feel that. Earlier, he ran straight into the door frame and hit his face, and he's just like, and he looks at his hand and he just walks off. I'm like, where the fuck you get this pain tolerance at, boy?
To be young, dude.
Yeah, to be young again.
Fucking A, man.
But you can go ahead and talk about your wrestling career or whatever you want to talk about.
All right, man. So I started training in 2008. I trained under somebody named Mike Brickhouse Baker at first, and at the Caroba Pro, and that was in New Bedford, Massachusetts. So we went over there. We started training. From there, I went to a school called the Lockup in Fall River, Massachusetts, which was ran by Spike Dudley. So when I went there and I started training, I only got to train with Spike a handful of times because he was already on his way out of the school. But Bob Evans was also one of the trainers over there. Matt Taven was another one of the trainers. Mike Bennett was another one of the trainers. So I worked with a lot of those guys on and off through the top rope school. And then my first like 6 to 8 years was spent being a tag team guy. And I was happy doing that. I was got to do some traveling. I got to work on TV for NWA on Fire. I was on Tough TV, Me TV, Plum TV from 2013 to 2015. So I got to work with the Savoldis out in NWA, and I got some TV experience. And then I was one of the, so you're familiar with Beyond Wrestling. I spoke about that. So Beyond Wrestling started out as studio tapings. They would only do wrestling, and it was like there was no crowd. The crowd was the boys. So like the whole concept was if you could pop the boys, you could pop a crowd. So they would do wrestling matches, and only the wrestlers were the crowd in attendance, and there was just like an online audience. So we started working with Beyond doing those, and we just happened to be on the ground floor when Beyond took off and started doing shows with I got to be on shows with like Kevin Steen, the Young Bucks, Tommaso Ciampa, Biff Busick, like you name it, you know what I mean? Trevor Lee, the list goes on and on and on and on of guys who are at Beyond. So I got to rub elbows with a lot of those guys. That was just a right place, right time situation for sure. And then a couple other notable companies I worked for in the East Coast was you heard of Limitless Wrestling before in Maine?
Shit.
Words, dude, words. Yeah, fucking Limitless Wrestling. I was the first match on the first Limitless show. So I got to see a couple companies like start from nothing and become like these super indies, you know what I mean? And then in 2016, yeah, my tag team partner Devin Blaze got into a car accident, and he got a pretty bad like head injury, and he had to take like a year off of wrestling. And then when that happened, like I said, I was a tag team guy, so nobody booked me for me. They booked me because I was in a team, you know what I mean? They booked us, not me. So my bookings went from being booked every weekend to not being booked at all. And I ended up taking about 3.5, 4 years off of wrestling because of that.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that about your partner.
Nah, hey, all is good. He ended up recovering fully and coming back, you know what I mean, eventually. But by the time he came back, I had already relocated to the Midwest, you know? So, like, when I moved out here, it was, like, right before the pandemic, basically, you know what I mean?
So, you being a singles guy, in my opinion, must have got you over, of course.
Yeah, see, I had a lot of doubts about shit because always being a tag team guy, you know what I mean? It's in the back of your head that, like, what happened to me in Massachusetts with my partner getting hurt and me not getting booked? Like, are you not good enough? Am I the Marty Jannetty of the team? You know what I mean? Like, I had those questions. So for me to be able to come out this past year and do just singles matches and get over, it means a lot to me because it shows that I still got something, you know what I mean, to offer at least.
Yeah, like I said, I'm definitely rooting for you to go into one of the, Horse Slam is big, but I'll definitely root for you to go into one of the, I guess you would kind of say more bigger promotions, like, as I said, XPW or ICW. I'm all for you. Normally when Danny drops a match card, I commented on it. So just the thought or to actually see you on one of Danny's cards, dude, I would probably blow the roof off the house.
Yeah, man, it would be very cool to do that because, in my opinion, the Chains has done a lot for deathmatch wrestling. A lot of people like to shit on ICW, but man, like they were doing like during the pandemic, they were the only fucking company one of the only companies going strong. And they introduced a lot of people. Like the Kirks wouldn't have got over as much if it wasn't for ICW. Hoodfoot wouldn't have got over as much if it wasn't for ICW. You know what I mean? Like there's been a lot of guys who've gone through there that have been introduced to the ranks only because ICW gave them a chance. You know what I mean?
I mean, in my opinion, Danny does need another good gatekeeper, and I think you would be a good gatekeeper.
Fucking A, dude. I'm just waiting for somebody to give me the call, dude. I like to say in my promos, I'm the best kept secret in deathmatch wrestling. Not a lot of people might not know who I am before my matches, but afterwards, people definitely remember who I am. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like when I was told to check you out by your name, I was like, who is that? And then I had to go look it up, and then it was, you, Tommy Trainwreck, and I was like, okay, now I know who he is, which I've heard of you before, but I wasn't just too familiar with your actual name. I have a comment that's sent on the YouTube channel that says your name, and I didn't want to. I'm not going to, throw your name out there like that.
Oh no, it's all good, dude.
I think it was like Tony or
Tone. Tone.
Yeah, I was like, who the hell is that? And then I looked it up, and I was like, oh, that's Tommy Trainwreck. I've heard of him before. He works around this horror slam.
Yeah, it's not a big secret, dude. A lot like in today's day and age, like we all know kayfabe, and you know what I mean. Everybody knows this shit, dude. Like, so my Facebook is under my shoot name, which is Tone, dude. So people know that. It's not a big deal. The way I look at it is like the people who know, and nobody's like when you go watch a movie, you're not watching a movie like this is bullshit. There's no snakes on this plane. You just go watch a movie because you know what it is. You know what I mean? Like that's how I feel like people view wrestling now. Like people know the deal. Like you're not watching it thinking like we're fighting to the death. You're watching it to watch some cool shit, and people understand and respect that. So like I'm cool, man. You can call me Tone, dude. I'm not worried about it.
And then a lot of people, one of the things that I can't stand is they go, oh, well, wrestling's fake. Oh, what's scripted? I'm like, but half of these wrestlers don't follow by scripts. And let me fucking hit you with a light tube and tell me if that shit's fake. Let me fucking hit you. Let me take a thing of skewers and put them in your head and tell me how they feel. You know, like I do lives on like Kick and shit. And I explain to my viewers, I'm like, this blood that they do, they bleed right there in front of you. They don't hop out of the ring and fall down and all of a sudden they're bleeding because of a fucking little razor nicking their head.
Yeah, man, like that's the one thing that like is the real appeal to deathmatch wrestling is so many people like to throw that fake word around. It's hard to say like it's fake when somebody gets hit with glass and you can see the cuts instantly. You know what I mean? Like on their back in places they're not cutting themselves with a razor. You know what I mean? Like that's what stands out, dude.
But I think that's gonna do it for this video, and we would definitely love to have you back on our channel.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I appreciate you guys for having me, dude. It was a blast talking to you guys, and you guys had some good questions, dude. Keep doing your thing. Keep pushing the channel, bro. Eventually, you know what I mean? Just keep getting guys on, and people will notice. You guys did a good job. You guys had some good questions and shit, so it was a pleasure, man. I appreciate you guys for having me.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, fuck yeah, man.